Department of Biology's website, I found all these different professors and researchers that were doing research that I was specifically interested in. I read through some of their papers, some of their different publishments through their website, and then I emailed them. Emailing can be a little bit frustrating, I guess, because not everyone responds. I think I sent at least 100 different emails, which sounds like a lot, but I emailed and I emailed. It's really important in those emails for you to speak as personally as possible. So I would recommend that you state that you read their paper, or, hey, like, I read that you're doing research on CRISPR. I think that's really interesting. Something so that they know that you're actually interested and you're not just like emailing a bunch of professors, because they kind of know. So I'd say find the type of research that interests you. I think it's really helpful to talk to professors if possible. A lot of them have like open times where you can go chat with them about their research. So yeah, just get to know what's out there, and emails, they will eventually work. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. Anyone else have questions?
I think there's a question in the chat. Raphael was asking what main factors played into picking your college. So anyone can go for it.
Yeah, I speak. I think for me, a lot of it was like a very personal choice. After spending sort of a year away from my family and away in particularly from my younger brother, who was like 5 at the time, I think, like he was in diapers when I left, and when I came back, he wasn't. And I felt like I had just missed so much of his life that I was like, I have to be close. So for me, that was a big reason. Yeah.
I also think that it's important to kind of figure out what you want out of your college experience. Like, I think there's some things a big school can offer you that a small school can't, and vice versa. I remember I really wanted to go to a smaller school because I just like the idea of like an intimate community and stuff. And then now I'm at Berkeley, which is very different. But you can still find like small school-esque feelings within a big school by like joining clubs and finding smaller communities. But the reason I decided to choose a big school instead was because I still wanted to explore as much as I could. And I think that going to a big school, it's often easier to kind of take a lot of different types of classes just because there's so many more things offered. Like at any given semester, there's just so many classes offered. So it's easier to explore sometimes. But there's also downsides. Like, it's hard to get into certain classes sometimes.
Great. I have a question as well. Oh, I think Ashley has a question. She says, how do you manage the study time with the time that you spend in other things? If anyone wants to answer that.
Okay, I can go. I think this takes a lot of practice. For me, my freshman year, I sort of put my mental health and social life in the backseat, and I would study a lot. I would go to the libraries a lot. Even on the weekends, I would do that. And I found very quickly that that's not the way to learn. You know, staying up late, studying all the time is not the way to learn. So for me, what really helps me is Google Calendar. I log every single one of my classes. I make an event for every meeting I have, any club I have. Sometimes if I have a really busy week, I will literally block out time just to eat, or like even like just for my study schedule, like, hey, I'm going to study for biochem here and I'm going to study for English here, whatever. Google Calendar also has like a feature where you can add tasks. So for me, it's really satisfying to like press like a checkbox or whatever, or cross something out. So even if that means like writing it down in a planner, I think staying organized is definitely the way to manage your time, and definitely make time for yourself in those schedules. So like, especially like on the weekends, I like to keep one day, or I try to keep one day where I don't do any homework. Doesn't always happen, but yeah, there's definitely a way to have a social life and your academics as well.
For Clarissa in the chat, for someone who wants to take a gap year, I guess you mean a gap year after high school. Would you recommend it if you ever go? Okay. Well, gap years are scary. They really are. When I applied for mine, just full disclosure, I wasn't really like in the best, like having the greatest time of my life. There were a lot of things going on that made me quite unhappy. Um, but I remember in sort of the weeks leading up to my year, I had like serious cold feet because I was like, I mean, I feel kind of good about things now. I don't really want to leave for so long and do this where I don't know anybody and I don't, like what you take 4 years of Spanish in high school, but you don't really know how to speak Spanish, right? Um, but I think at least for me personally, it ended up being one of the most formulative and most beneficial things for me. Um, like there's a lot of opportunities that I received because of my gap. I didn't get into Berkeley the first time I applied, actually. So that was probably because of my gap year. I didn't have any scholarships the first time I applied to college. There's a lot of things in my life that changed because of it. And here's the thing, right? Like colleges are institutions. They're going to be there. They're going to be around like for years and years after we're gone. But if you have an opportunity that seems worth it and an opportunity I think that seems valid, and it's not like, I'm not saying like, take a year off and kind of like fiddle with your time and not do much, because you should be spending gap years or spending time in ways that are productive and ways that even if they're not like, even if they don't give you like hard skills, quote unquote, if it's something that you think would be worth it and you think would be beneficial, if an opportunity like that, I think you should hold on to it and you should try for it. And a younger sibling to go far or close to college. It really like, yeah, because my younger brother, he's 10 now, so there is a 12-year age difference between us. So I think it's really kind of a give and take, because I'm sure if you do have a younger sibling, maybe your folks or your family kind of would prefer you to be closer as well. But, college is also a good time. As Abhishek and as everyone else was saying, college is really, a 4-year period of exploration, of learning. And if that's something you can do while being close, by all means, go close. But if that's something where you feel like you'll be better served, like stretching your comfort zone and going to a new city or going somewhere you've never been before or going out of the state, by all means do that. Like college should be something that you curate and you decide on for your own growth. Like it's tough when you have younger siblings, but your younger siblings will be there over breaks and they'll be there after you're done.
Yeah, and I just want to say real quick too. I have a younger sibling who's 8 years younger than me, and it is a very difficult sort of thing. But you can, like Austin said, you can, choose to. You have to purposefully choose to spend time with family once you come back home. And if those are relationships that you want to continue to keep up, then you have to make those decisions consciously. As long as you do that, I think you'll be fine. And if you call or if you talk, that's like the most important thing, right? Just to make sure to let them know that you're there. And that they'll be there for you too during that time. So as long as you're doing those things, you'll be fine.
All right. Thank you to our panelists for a very informative, just time and a lot of good information there, I hope, for all the high schoolers here. And that's going to conclude our Q&A for now. But if you do have questions that you want to ask, we're going to have their emails and contact information in the next Monday mailer. So stay tuned for that.
All right. Thank you again, everybody. Yes. We're going to get everyone's contact information out to you. So you juniors and seniors who stayed on, and sophomores as well, thank you so much for staying on. Big round of applause for CHAMPS, from CHAMPS to you panelists. We really appreciate it. So big thank you. And I will be getting your emails from Kavya and Stephen for a little thank you certificate that we send out to all our panelists as well. So for you sophomores, and maybe those that weren't on the last meeting from last Wednesday, you can stay on. Otherwise, thank you everyone who has joined in. But for sophomores, we have a sophomores only update. And so I'm gonna cue it on over to Miss Lupita to talk about the sophomore class.
Yeah. So, I mean, right now that I still have some of you guys, some of the panelists, I just want to say thank you guys so much. I know you guys have really bright futures ahead of you, and you guys speak so eloquently. And you guys definitely should start a podcast. I would listen to it. Yeah, and you guys are just so grounded, and you guys have such clear perspectives and like mature viewpoints on life and an understanding of failure. And it's just so refreshing to hear our next generation of folks that are entering like STEM and medicine and business and law, to have that perspective at such a young age. So that is really refreshing and motivating. It gives me hope for our future. Thank you guys so much. Let's keep in touch. I would love to hear from you guys in the future and just stay posted on what you guys are doing and really celebrate you guys as you guys succeed along your path. So thank you guys so much.